streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold.
Good afternoon, family, and welcome to Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and we have a great episode planned for you today. Today's episode is Get Picked: How Speakers Build Brands, Build Stages, Book Stages, and Stay Human in an AI World. Today's theme is The Microphone is the Marketing. Authentic speaking in the age of AI. Tonight, you're going to get these highlights: public speaking as a business growth tool, branding and visibility for speakers, the rising value of the human connection in an AI-driven world, and the belief that there is a microphone for everyone. My guest tonight, I should tell you a few things about her. She's the author of the book Get Picked, the host of the Stage Whisperer podcast, and creator of the Speaker Brand Academy. She's going to join me right here on Born to Speak to You right after this commercial, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Calvin Gibbs with Born to Speak to You TV, and here's your Born to Rise tip for today. You're not stuck. You're just committed to certain patterns of behavior that in the past may have worked for you. But guess what? You've grown past those patterns of behavior. Now they're more harmful than they are helpful. And the reason that you can't move forward is because you keep applying an old formula to a new level in your life. That old formula, that is for where you were. But you've moved on to another level. And it's time to have a new formula, a new solution. So change the formula and get a different result. If you keep doing what you did when you were there, it's not going to work out. You've moved on to another level, change the formula, and step into your purpose. You were born to rise.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark.
And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and today we're diving into speaker branding, public speaking as a marketing tool, and why being 100% authentic and human might be your biggest competitive advantage. So family, get ready, because this episode is about making sure that when opportunity calls, you get picked. So let's get into it. I'd like to bring up my guest. If that's possible, bring up my guest tonight. What's up, family? Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV, the show where we amplify voices, stories, and purposes. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and some of you know my journey from the streets of Brooklyn, New York, to theater stages all over Chicagoland, to distinguished Toastmasters, to building platforms where diverse voices don't just get heard, they get respected. So today's conversation is especially powerful because we're talking about being seen, being chosen, and being remembered as a speaker, especially in a world where AI can write scripts but cannot replace souls. Again, my guest today is a professional communicator. She has over 30 years of experience. She's the author of the book Get Picked, the host of the Stage Whisperer podcast, and creator of Speaker Brand Academy. Her name is Aurora Gregory, and I can't wait to bring her on right after this message. And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. And tonight, I have a very special guest in the studio with me. Let me introduce her properly. Aurora Gregory helps experts, entrepreneurs, and authors become unforgettable speakers who captivate audiences and get booked. She's an award-winning marketing communications expert. She hosts the Stage Whisperer podcast, and she created Speaker Brand Academy to help speakers turn expertise into powerful brands, refine their pitches, master the stage, and land dream speaking opportunities. Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV, Aurora.
Calvin, thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this since we had a chance to meet, and I'm excited to be here. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Yes, indeed. I do a background research on all of my guests, and I found yours to be especially interesting to me because being a speaker myself, if I had known you 5 years ago, my path might have been a little easier than the path that I had to go through to get on those stages and get booked. So, as I like to say, let's jump right into the deep end. That's where the party's at, in the deep end. So let's go. Let's get into it. The title "Get Picked" is powerful. What does getting picked really mean for speakers today?
That's a really that's a really great question. And I think for speakers today, it's such a validation that they've done the things that they need to do to create some separation from the rest of the pack that allows them to stand up and stand out from, so many people that are probably in their same space. What's interesting in the world today, and I think probably was kind of accelerated by the pandemic, is that all of us have a studio right in our hand with our telephones, right? Our mobile phones. We have a studio that we can open up and be on quote unquote stage just about any time we want. But if we're looking to really connect with distinct audiences, we're looking to maybe even have corporate speaking opportunities, things like that. There's a little bit more that has to be there in order for you to create some separation and differentiation for yourself. All of us are experts in what we do, but we're not the only expert in what we do. And so that being true, we've got to create some separation so that we can clearly communicate and define for those people that are in the position of selecting speakers, giving them the very clear direction that while there are many speakers to choose from, that we are the speaker that should be on their stage.
Yeah, because there's a lot of talented speakers out there and they struggle to stand out even when they're good. I have a background in theater, and the same thing is true. There's a lot of actors out there that have done some tremendous work, but yet they still struggle to stand out and get that recognition that they obviously deserve and can handle.
Yeah,
So you said, go ahead.
no, I was going to say it's just so true, and it's an important thing to be aware of that whenever we enter into an opportunity to be chosen as a speaker, to maybe even go after an acting role, that we have to remember that it's a bit of a competition, and we have to compete well. And there's some things that we can do to compete well so that we actually achieve our goal, which is to get picked, to win the role, to land the speaking opportunity.
Okay. Well, let's talk about public speaking as marketing. You say public speaking is one of the most underused marketing tools. Why?
It is for so many reasons. I think there are a lot of people who are very hesitant about, taking that spotlight and taking to the microphone. But here's why I love public speaking. It is so efficient when it comes to marketing. When you are trying to communicate and connect with an audience of, if you're an expert, an entrepreneur, if you're a book author and you're trying to connect with an audience of people that should be readers of your book, there's nothing more efficient than being able to stand in front of a room full of people who knew why they were coming. They knew they were coming to hear a speaker, and be able to share with them who you are, what you're about, what your perspectives are, your strategies, what your book is about. You can do that so efficiently from a microphone to a room of 20 people, 50 people, 400 people, in a way that you never could if you were just a guest at a conference or an event, or if you were someone who was just sitting in the chairs listening to a speaker. We have, as speakers, that opportunity to have all eyes on us, all attention on us, and that prime opportunity to connect with people. And you can't do that just even attending a conference. If you attended a smaller conference of, say, 50 to 60 people, you would never be able to spend meaningful time with every single person in the room and have a deep conversation with them. But as a speaker, you get to do that with all 50 people all at the same time. And that's why I love it. It's, there is no more efficient a marketing tool than public speaking when it comes to building relationship and connecting with people that you would like to invite in deeper into your world and eventually offer them some type of service.
Okay, cool. Now, I'm going to ask you a question that's not even on my list of questions. This just popped into my head. I'm a speaker. I have been offered an opportunity to get on stage, give my message. How does one talk turn into clients, credibility, and long-term opportunity? Somebody out there needs to hear this one.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. So when you do have that opportunity to get on a stage, one of the biggest mistakes that I see speakers make is they try to take all of the knowledge that they have in their head and they try to essentially turn it upside down like a box of Legos. They want to pour everything that they know out onto their audience in, say, a 20 to 40 minute presentation. And that is the biggest mistake that I see speakers make. It's not possible for an audience to be able to absorb that, to take all of that in and have some type of experience. Your job as a speaker is to create some type of transformational moment for your audience, a light bulb moment, give them a solution to a problem. And the way that you do that is to take all of the things that you know, thinking about them in terms of your audience. What are their biggest struggles and challenges? And what of the things that I know and the things that I can solve, what of those things can meet them in one of their biggest challenges? I call it the power of one. Solve one problem from the stage, not 10, not all the things that you can solve, but one problem. If you can do that, if you can give your audience a transformational experience, solve something for them, motivate them, educate them about something that they didn't know before, their immediate thought is, well, that is pretty incredible. If Calvin could do that for me in 20 to 40 minutes, well, imagine what I would be able to achieve if I hired him as my coach, or if I bought his book, or if I signed up for his course. Because if this was this great, then more of Calvin has to be even better. Because what you've done is you've shown them what is possible using your perspectives, your tools, your knowledge, and given them a taste of what it would be like to be deeper engaged with you and your content. And so then your assignment then is to have a roadmap, a mechanism for them to be able to come into your world. And so whether that's offering them something at the end that they can sign up for, and now you have an email list that you can market to, or an opportunity for them to work with you in the back after your session, or to meet you and buy your book, you need to give them those opportunities, but give them that moment, and the line to speak to you after your session will naturally grow. But if you try to do too much, then it's a little bit like taking too much food into your mouth. You can't really chew it all, and swallowing it is really hard. And the only thing that you want to do when the session is over is you want to be able to get up and leave, because this was just, as they say, as the kids say, a lot.
Mm-hmm. Give them one bite at a time, basically, solve a problem, and, let it grow from there. One thing I used to hear is the phrase, always leave them wanting more. So you don't want to give them everything at one time, right?
It's really true. And, that wanting more is a really good, second point to this. It's that whole idea that if you have done something meaningful for them in that short period of time, then they will want more. They want to come deeper into your world. They want to be able to have something to take with them, whether that's buying your book or, having some type of, lead magnet tool or something, some other way that they can continue to engage with you. And then they're going to be looking for you to follow up with them, to have more for them. And you have to learn the work of nurturing and cultivating that relationship that you started from the stage, so that you can continue to move them along and hopefully turn them into customers.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. Now I want to move a little bit in a different direction, talk just a little bit about podcasting and visibility. Mm-hmm. For someone that's thinking about starting a podcast or guesting on a podcast, what's the simplest way to begin?
Well, I will say, I love podcasts and I love podcasting. I love it for a couple of reasons. For speakers who are a little on the shyer side, or maybe just getting started, podcasting and being a guest on podcasts is a great opportunity. There was a time when being on a podcast wasn't necessarily considered a stage, and now we do think of it as a stage, but it's more of a conversation. I'm not, as much as I love public speaking, I'm not so committed to it in its purest form, so that I don't understand that there are some people who just cannot bring themselves to have all of those live eyeballs on them, and that's fine. But this goes to my point where, that there's a stage for everybody, and being a podcast guest is one of those stages that I think works for everyone, because everyone can have a conversation. So if you are someone who maybe is a little on the shyer side and you want to be able to, but you have ideas and things that are important and valuable for people to hear, taking on what I call a guesting strategy to your speaking, I think is really powerful. You want to go out and research and find those podcasts that are serving the people that you want to serve. If you are, someone who, serves educators and teachers, there are plenty of podcasts out there for teachers and educators. Like whatever your topic or place of business is, there are podcasts for it. And so I want you to be able to go out and find those podcasts and find specifically the ones that take guests and listen. Give yourself a chance to learn a little bit. Pay attention to how the interviewer asks questions, to how the guest is answering, and then start to look for those that you can actually pitch, that you can actually offer yourself an opportunity to be a guest and what you can bring to that audience. That's always what you want to lead with is, here is what I can help your audience with, podcast host. Not what I can come on and talk about, but what I can help you and your audience with. And land those interviews and give yourself that opportunity to get on and talk. I love guesting for a number of different reasons. I feel like, being a podcast guest is the speaking opportunity that almost never ends, because even after you're done recording and the episode drops, the episode lives on. It's not a one and done. Whereas, for a live event, if there's no recording of it, you give your presentation and it's over. It doesn't live anymore. But a podcast lives for a long time. And I think, Calvin, I'm sure this has happened to you. I find a podcast that I really love. My first thing is wanting to listen and binge all of the other episodes. And so that being true, I know that, I may be a guest on someone's show in maybe February, but someone's not going to discover it until August. And they come into my world as a result of being on that show.
All right, cool. Another thing about being a guest on a podcast as a stage for speakers, how do they do that when they aren't booking events yet? How can they leverage being a guest on a podcast into getting on a stage?
And that's, what I love about podcasts is that because there's so many of them, chances and the lead times to get on a show generally are shorter than being able to speak at a live event. I'm actually working with a couple of my corporate clients right now, and we're putting together speaker proposals for a conference that won't happen until late October. So we're working now, and it's not going to happen until the fall. But podcasts can happen, within a matter of weeks sometimes. And what I love for speakers who are newer to the speaking game and want to land those live stages is being able to use those use clips from their guesting opportunities in pitches that they're offering to live stages or on their speaker materials, say on a speaker webpage that they might have on their website, because it's evidence that you can in fact talk about what it is that you're offering to speak on. It gives you an opportunity to showcase your passion, your interest, your perspectives. One of the things that speakers really want to know is, can you actually talk? No one wants to put a speaker who maybe is a little shy or timid, maybe is still trying to build up their experience as a speaker. They need to have that confidence that you can, in fact, hold someone's attention. And a podcast really can do that.
And that's true. And one thing that I used to do is I had an internet radio show where I would interview actors, just people from theater, not only in Chicago, but across the US. And I would listen to it. After the recording, that whole week, I would listen to it and try to get better as an interviewer, better as a speaker. And it turned out to be a great tool for me, as well as getting into Toastmasters and learning all different techniques.
That's such a great tip. And I think that, one of the other things that happens when you get a chance to be a podcast guest and you do enough of it, one of the things that does happen is you start to get better and better at delivering your messages and the things that are core to what you talk about. And that's really critical. I think, Calvin, I'm sure you've had this experience where you're talking about something that you have, deep experience in, and then all of a sudden you hear yourself say it in a way that is just like it's just perfect, and it resonated really well with the host. And there's that place in you, it's like that's how I want to say that, that's how I want to talk about that. And so now you have a recording of it because you're on the show, but it's given you that practice, the reps, to be able to land those messages and really work on refining them. It's really important to be able to do that. And that's another reason why I love the podcast guesting strategy, because it gives you a lot of practice at talking about the things that you talk about and getting better at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to put a little pin in it for right now. We're going to take a break and have a message from one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV, and we're having a great conversation on this episode. This episode is Get Picked: How Speakers Build Brands, Book Stages, and Stay Human in an AI World. My guest today is Aurora Gregory, and we've just got finished talking about speaker journey, branding, public speaking is marketing, podcasting visibility. And now I want to move a little bit into AI authenticity and the future. Yeah. Because we're seeing 100% human labels now on things, from speeches to podcast episodes, things like that. So what does that say about where we are culturally?
Well, we're certainly in a really dynamic inflection point. I don't think any of us would disagree that we're living in a time that I don't think any of us could have imagined even just a few short years ago. What I find so fascinating about where we are is the idea that we need to somehow be suspicious of what we may be seeing, reading, listening to. So whether or not it's real, or is it AI? Is it a real person talking to me, writing to me? Or is this an AI clone? Is it an AI bot that might be, being used by an expert? And in and of itself, I kind of stand in the middle. I see the value of all that AI can bring. But one of the things that I think is really interesting is that I think that people really want to know those experts that they're engaging in, that they're listening to, that they're buying from, that you're a real person, that you are someone that they could email and get an answer from, that they could, drop a comment on your social media and it's going to be you that's responding. And, as we kind of grow into this AI world and it continues to expand and explode almost what feels like daily, people are going to be hungry for reality, for real connection. And that's where public speaking can become incredibly important and incredibly valuable to your business. When you are live on a stage, when you're, on a show like this one, there's no mistaking that you are a real person talking to real people, making real connections. And I think as our digital world just continues to transform our culture and the workplace and how we engage with one another, those real experiences that we're able to deliver are going to exponentially become more important. And for those of us who are willing to be speakers, who want to lean into that microphone life, we have a real opportunity to build some meaningful relationships with audiences that we want to serve, because we're willing to actually be real with them.
Voice doesn't get lost in automation.
It's a, it's a real, it's a real problem, I think. I mean, things are changing so quickly. It's a little hard to know exactly how to address it. I think one of the things that is really true is that in our marketing, in our broader sharing about the work that we do, that it's important to remember to mention that we'll be live. I do a masterclass every Monday, talking with up and coming speakers, and one of the things that I make sure that I communicate is I will be there live. So bring your questions, because I'm going to be ready to answer them. I have a really good friend, a business pal, who is an expert in recording video testimonials for businesses. And she's taken to labeling those video testimonials that she records with real people, labeling them 100% human, so that there's no mistaking that the person giving this testimonial is a real life person. So I think that when you are live, it's important to call that out, to designate it, that you are live and in person. And that when you're not, when it is either an AI clone that you're using or you're offering recorded content, that somehow that's also communicated. I think people are looking for honesty. They're willing to consume what you present to them, as long as you present it to them honestly. And I think that that's a really important integrity play, as we all try to wrap our arms and legs around this new digital world that we're living in now.
I'm sorry, it makes sense to me. It definitely makes sense to me. We're going to take a break. I have another Born to Rise tip, and we'll be right back to conclude this conversation with Aurora Gregory. This is Born to Speak to You TV. See you in 60 seconds. This is Calvin Gibbs, and this is the segment we like to call Born to Rise. I'd rather have an enemy who admits they hate me instead of a friend who secretly puts me down. Yes, I would rather have somebody that says, Calvin, I do not like you, because I know where that person's coming from. They're being honest. They're being truthful. I know which category to put them in. But when you have a friend who secretly puts you down behind your back, say they got your back when they're talking to you, facing you, and then secretly behind your back, they're talking about you, they're laughing at you, they're hoping you don't be successful. Now, give me the enemy. Give me the enemy any day that admits that they hate my guts, instead of a friend, or what I perceive to be a friend, who secretly puts me down. That's your tip for today. This is Born to Rise, and I'm Calvin Gibbs. This is Born to Speak to You TV.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark.
All right, fam. Straight talk for a moment. Everybody wants to get picked. Picked for the stage, picked for the podcast, picked for the opportunity. But here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Getting picked starts with getting prepared. We're living in a world where AI can write your speech, design your slides, even clone your voice. But what it can't do, as we've been talking about, is replace you. It can't replace your story. It can't replace your lived experience. It can't replace your scars, your lessons, your growth. Too many speakers are waiting for permission instead of building their brand. They're waiting to be discovered instead of being intentional. Now, let me be clear. Public speaking is no longer just about inspiration. It's marketing, it's visibility, it's how people decide whether they trust you, whether they follow you, or whether they even buy from you. So if you want to get picked, stop asking, am I good enough? Ask this instead. Am I showing up consistently as myself? Because in an automated world, authenticity is your unfair advantage. This is Straight Talk with Calvin. And remember, there's a microphone for everyone, but only the prepared get invited to speak. And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs. My guest is Aurora Gregory. And Aurora, let's get into some practical takeaways that the audience can take with them and hopefully change their lives. What is one branding shift that speakers can make today to be more bookable?
So this is something that I teach a lot in some of my live classes and that I teach in Speaker Brand Academy. And that is this. So many people who want to be speakers, and, I work primarily with, experts and entrepreneurs, authors. They've got, some semblance of a business that they're already running. And many of them think that the brand that they've built for their business is the brand that will help them land stages. And it's actually not true. The brand that you build for your business is all about making a promise to the customers that you're selling to, that your product is going to deliver, that you're going to stand behind it. That's your business brand. But your speaker brand is all about the promise that you make to an audience in a specific moment in time for the specific experience that they're going to have with you. And that is something that has to be clarified. It may be just a subtle difference, a subtle change in language from how you talk about your business versus how you talk about your speaking, but it's really critical that you make the distinction, because the audience is not necessarily coming to buy from you to start with. They're coming to listen to you. They're coming to get to know you. And so you have to make a different promise. There's a different brand that you have to build. And when you do that, and you then begin to pitch speaking opportunities with that brand leading, well, then you become much more the obvious choice, because you're actually making the case for why you should be on someone's stage and delivering on the promise that you're making. Event hosts, event planners who have to make selections of speakers, they've got a lot of pressure on them. It's not just all of the details for the event, but it's actually the composition of that agenda and all of the speakers that they bring on. They don't want to have their audience, many of whom may have paid to come to the event, turn around and look at them and say, who is this that you put on this stage? They want that audience to say, where did you find this speaker? He is amazing. I can't believe what she just shared. They want to look like they were the smartest thing they did is book you on the stage. And that's what you have to help them see in the materials and the pitches that you're putting together. And you do that when you have a strong speaker brand.
Thank you very much for that. And that is so true. When I first started speaking, I had my business page, social media page, and I had my personal page. And then I started realizing the two are crossing each other. And after a while, it hit me. I can't do that. That's not
Right.
that's not a good look. So I wiped clean my person, took out some things from my personal profile, and just started focusing on the business side of things. I am still opinionated, and if if you ask me my opinion, I will tell you. But in person, I no longer will put that into social media where anybody can, do some research and find it. So, um, this is the last takeaway. What would you say success looks like for a speaker who is building the right brand and not just chasing stages? A lot of speakers are chasing stages, but what does success, what does success look like for that speaker that's actually doing the work to build the right brand?
That's such a great question. I think that we could probably have a long philosophical discussion on what the definition of success is. But I think that what a speaker who's really either building out the speaker brand or speaker arm of their business, or wanting to incorporate more speaking into their marketing, the success metrics that you're looking for are: am I getting in front of the right people that are actually ideal for what it is that I want to offer them, whether that's my coaching, whether it's my book, whether it's services that I offer. And so, in order to be able to know that you're getting in front of the right people, you have to know with great clarity who those people are. Who is your audience? If you're just chasing any stage, you could end up talking to people that might find you very interesting, but are not going to give you the results that you're looking for from your speaking, that are not necessarily going to help you with visibility. They may find you interesting, but you won't have solved any problems for them. You won't have made a difference in their lives because they're not your people. So that success metric is always going to be, am I serving the right people? Whether I show up at a very small lunch and learn event at the Chamber of Commerce and I'm talking to 12 to 15 people, but I make a huge impact for 4 of those people, and we continue to evolve our relationship and discussions about how we can support each other. Or am I talking to 3 to 500 people? If they're not the right people, then it doesn't really matter. So I want the audience to really be thoughtful about that. Be very clear about who you talk to, what they struggle with, what their needs are, and then go to those places where they gather to get support. And by gather, it might be virtually, it might be in person, but wherever they're going to connect with one another, wherever they're going to learn the latest on what it is they care about, that's where you want to be. If you can, just give me a moment just to share a little story. I have a client that I worked with. She is a crafting and self-care expert. She started her work when she was a very young teenager, designing and hand sewing custom teddy bears. And so now she teaches people how to use creativity and sewing custom teddy bears as a form of self-care and stress relief. Now, I love to tell her story because that's a very unique and very distinct message, the idea of sewing a teddy bear. But she's also very clear that there are a lot of people out there who experience a lot of stress, carry a lot of weight and pressure, and don't have a natural place to release it in a way that helps them feel creative, that allows them to feel productive without the pressure. And so the idea of teaching people how to sew this teddy bear, she marries that with people who, yes, are crafters and want to learn this new skill of how to create a stuffed toy, but also people who are looking for stress relief and stress management, that self-care community. So she goes after both of those audiences. And I share her story because it doesn't matter what you talk about, doesn't matter what your topic is. There are people out there who get together to fellowship around it. And that's where you want to be. You want to be where they are, because then you can be very certain that you're serving the right people.
That's right. Very good. Thank you for that. And that's why the motto for this show is speak life into the moments that matter. I struggled when putting the show together. Who is my audience? Who needs a message? And I'm very particular about my guests as well. They have to have a message that's going to speak life and positivity into a situation. So, yeah, speaking life into the moments that matter, that's definitely for people that want to do better, that want to grow, that feel stuck, unsure. And this show is just a boost to get them to where they need to go, get them just thinking about what the possibilities could be.
Exactly.
So, I want to thank you. This has been a great and a much needed conversation, because you reminded us that speaking isn't just about stages, microphones, or applause. It's about connection. It's about clarity. It's about courage in a world that's moving faster and faster towards automation, with speakers who lead with authenticity that will always win. So family, if you've ever felt like your voice matters, but you're not sure how to package it, position it, or profit from it, this episode was just for you. Aurora Gregory is living proof that when you stop waiting to be chosen and start building your brand with intention, you get picked. Yes. So Aurora, thank you for your wisdom, your generosity, your commitment to helping speakers show up fully human. I do want to ask you, if the audience want to reach out to you, your website is on the screen now, auroragregory.com.
That's it. And definitely come visit me there. You can learn a lot more about the work that I do. And if you'll take a look, you'll find a place where you can sign up for my email list. And there's a great guide that I'll offer you about how to create the perfect speaker one sheet. So I'd love for you to sign up for that and grab that. If you're a speaker and you don't have a one sheet, it'll be a great tool to help you build one.
Absolutely. And if you are a speaker and you don't have a speaker one sheet, you probably are not getting booked anyway. So you definitely want to look into that. And Aurora, again, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a pleasure, and I hope that we can talk about some other things in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And this was a delight. I loved our conversation.
Okay, thank you again. And we're going to have a short commercial. We'll be right back with our call to action. This is Born to Speak to You TV. We'll be right back. Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV, where we're speaking life into the moments that matter. This isn't just a show. It's a movement. It's a space where stories are honored, voices are lifted, and truth has a mic. Each episode, we dive into powerful conversations on identity, on equity, growth, healing, leadership, and the courage that it takes to speak up in a world that often wants us to keep quiet. Whether it's through personal testimony, community impact, or artistic expression, Born to Speak to You is where voices rise and change begin. Our mission is simple: to empower people to use their voice, own their truth, and build bridges of communication and understanding. So, sit back or lean in, because you're about to witness what happens when passion meets purpose. This is Born to Speak to You TV. Let's speak life. We are back. Hey family, if today's episode spoke to you, here's your next step. Follow Aurora Gregory and check out the Stage Whisperer podcast. Learn more about Speaker Brand Academy. If you're ready to build a speaker brand that's going to get you booked, get you paid, like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear that their voice matters. And if you're ready to step into your speaking power, stay connected with Born to Speak to You TV, because your story deserves a stage. And before you go, we'd like to invite you to keep the conversation going. A QR code is going to show up on your screen, and it's going to allow you to watch all episodes of Born to Speak to You TV, past, present, and what's coming next. So join the dialogue. Beyond the show, follow, subscribe, and interact with us on YouTube for behind-the-scenes moments, live conversations, and inspiration. Connect with us on LinkedIn for professional insights, thought leadership, and powerful discussions that elevate your voice. This isn't just a show, it's a community. So scan, connect, and keep speaking your truth with Born to Speak to You. And keep speaking life into the moments that matter. On our next episode, we're going to have a young lady that is building mindsets, helping people change their mindsets. Before you can do anything, your mind has to be ready for it. Mindset before you do the grind to get to your success. And our next guest on the next episode is Nikki Cuesta, and she is going to give you some great tips on changing your mindset, getting out there, doing the grind, getting successful, getting paid, and hitting your goals. That's the most important thing. So until the next episode of Born to Speak to You TV, I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and keep speaking life into the moments that matter.
Of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold. Now he walks in purpose, pure and true. He was born to speak to you. He's got that rhythm in his truth, that fire in his flow. Speaking life into the moment, watch it grow. Every phrase, every beat, a breakthrough cue. Yeah, he was born to speak to you.